Being a welcoming city means being a city that embraces people equally with open arms, where no one has to fear being their authentic self, walking down the street, doing business, earning a living, and taking care of their family.
That is Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot in 2021. That is the day she signed the sanctuary city expansion, which prohibits local police from cooperating with ICE, even in cases where arrested illegals are in the gang database. Or convicted felons have pending criminal charges or outstanding warrants.
According to the most recent city records, no criminal illegals have been turned over to ICE for arrest and deportation. None of the ICE detainers filed with the Chicago police requesting custody of criminal illegal migrants were honored. And critics say the city is protecting illegal immigrants due to this expanded policy and putting public safety at risk. Illinois Jefferson County Sheriff Jeff Bullard is with us now. Sheriff, welcome. Thanks for coming on. I know recently the Chicago mayor signed an updated welcoming city ordinance, essentially adding more protections for undocumented immigrants. Tell me about her latest move and what this means for the people of Chicago.
Well, good morning, and thank you for having me on the program. It's a very problematic policy. The Constitution gives the government the authority to make sure that people who are not in this country legally have to follow proper channels to become naturalized citizens. And it's the job of law enforcement to investigate and locate people who are not going through that process. And then to add on it, when these people who are here illegally belong to gangs or they have violent felony records, and now the police cannot act on these instances, even when ICE has a detainer, when these individuals are supposed to be remanded to custody. That's very problematic. And what it does is when the police cannot hang on to these people, it potentially creates unnecessary additional victims because these people will go on and commit crimes, not only in the Cook County area, but in other regions as well. And that's a problem. It's a problem not being addressed.
I want to ask you about that. So ICE makes a request to the police department, says, hey, you've got detainees that we need to bring through our own channel. That is being denied. Is that correct? And then what happens to those detained?
Well, basically, if local authorities deny the federal detainer, if they have no local charges or if they post bond on charges or are released by the local courts, then the federal detainer will be ignored and they will be returned back out to the streets.
Wow. What does this mean for the message that is sent to those hoping to find a home in Chicago after making their way across the border illegally?
Well, it certainly does not discourage those who came over the border with sinister intent, like those that have organized crime affiliation, possibly with members of the cartel, that they want to traffic weapons and illegal drugs across the border or other criminal activity. It certainly doesn't discourage that. It makes it more of a sanctuary city for crime.
Let me ask you about this as well in terms of a revised ordinance. And correct me if we're wrong here, but the word citizen was removed from the municipal code, replaced instead with person or resident, meant to indicate that Chicago does not discriminate based on citizenship. So not using the word citizen based on discrimination. Is that correct? And is that something that you're on board with?
That's my understanding of what that would be. And no, I'm not on board with it. Discrimination is an unlawful treatment of someone based on who they are. When our Constitution clearly defines what citizenship is, when someone who comes here illegally and they don't go through the legal process to become a naturalized citizen, that is not discrimination to have them deported or have them detained or to force them to go through the proper legal channels to become a citizen. And it's a very misguided policy and a complete deviation from what our Constitution stands for.
It comes at a time when Title 42 is set to expire just days from now. We're going to wait and see what happens at our southern border and if cities across the country will see an increase in illegal migrants making their way to those destinations. Sheriff Jeff Bullard, thanks so much for joining us today, sir. We appreciate it.
My pleasure. Have a good week.
You too.